What's going on, YouTube? We are going to talk about Vinfast Auto, ticker symbol VFS. This company is publicly traded now as of August 15th. Looks like it opened at like $20.50 a share, currently trading at $29.50 per share. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a little bit of a news article on their IPO, go through their financials, and make a decision on whether or not this company should be purchased. Let's get into it. VinFast IPO'd. They currently in there. There's a summary here of the day they went public and whatever. They're kind of giving us a little bit of commentary as to where what's going on, what's the company about, and all this stuff. So I found a little section here that I thought was pretty decent, well written in my opinion. So I'll read it off real quick. So VinFast has delivered close to 19,000 EVs, including all these different models of EVs that they have as of June 30th. It is also preparing for the upcoming launch of, looks like they got three more models coming out in the Vietnamese and global markets. VinFast looks forward to building upon its rapid expansion as the company rolls out next generation EVs and solutions and carries out its strategy of expanding its footprint globally. The company has established a strong foothold in its Vietnamese home market by rolling out its own charging network spanning across 63 cities and provinces and plans to expand it further in the coming years. VinFast has also established a company-owned retail and service network of over 122 VinFast stores worldwide. And additionally, VinFast is working to strengthen its position in the global EV market by leveraging new partnerships with distributors and dealers in select markets, including North America, Europe, Vietnam, Southeast Asia. Also, one more thing here. VinFast broke ground on its new EV manufacturing facility in the US. The event marked a significant step towards its global expansion and supply chain development in North America. All right, sounds like they're, rapidly growing and they seems like they got some things figured out, right? All right, so then now let's take a peek at their earnings of what they've given us. So currently traded, that's available to the public that if I'm reading this correctly, I believe is 3 million shares is available for us to trade today. There's 2.3 billion shares available. However, you can see where the majority of the shares are being held at is within most of the company. So I'm curious right away as to, okay, there's this thing called lockup agreements as companies can only release so many shares per so many days. Whatever that is, maybe 90 days they can release another 6 million shares and then release more shares and more shares, right? I did not initially see any type of a lockup period on um this statement that they gave us. But if, whatever that lockup period might be, that then they after that lockup period is a certain amount of time after IPO before this company, the insiders can start selling 2.3, you know, billion-dollar or billion shares available. But then once they start selling, if you start selling, if there's only 3 million shares available and you start dumping a billion shares, there's going to be way more supply than demand. It's going to probably crash the price if those insiders decide to dump shares as they become unlocked. So the share thing, to me, a little sketch. So we come down here, but I think this it's not just sketch, but it's kind of how these things work anyway, because usually there's lockup periods on all IPOs, and insiders can't start selling or trading shares until after their lockup period is up. So after that, so now we come down here to assets. They've got, and over here on the right hand side is the US dollar section here. The rest of this is all in, I believe, Vietnamese dollars or whatever. So we've got cash and cash equivalents of $158.5 million in cash. We've got, looks like $1.05 billion in inventories. And then 70, 6 million in intangibles with a total asset value of $5.1 billion. And these obviously are rounded up a little bit there, but current liabilities, we've got $3.5 billion of short-term debt. So if you come up here, short-term debt, we've only got $5.1 billion in total assets, but we've only got $158 million in cash. $1 million of inventories too, so I guess you could say there's $1.2 billion in inventories or in cash, but inventories typically you have to sell, and if you need the money now, you're not going to sell, you're not going to get what you want for, you're going to have to sell at a discount, so more could be $500 million in inventories and to be sold. A little further down here, $7.2 billion in total debt. Down here at revenues, they made $83.5 million. This is last quarter. And cost of sales was 245 million. Cost of vehicles sold was 222 million, and they sold them for $83.5 million. Like, okay, I guess even worse than that because you got $65 million in vehicle sales. Everything else is just services and parts and stuff. So $65 million in vehicle sales, and it costed you $222 million to make those vehicles, to sell them. Total loss in 3 months was double their revenue. Right here, $161 million loss in 3 months. Okay, so let's keep going down. Net operating loss keeps getting worse. $472 million loss now is what we're at. It looks like they made a little bit of money here on other operating income. And then keep coming down a little more costs. Total, now we're up to $598 million in losses. And this is in 3 months. On a company that in revenues is making 83 million and they're losing 600 million. Yikes. All right. Now we are at cash flows. Cash flows. So 600. So at 598 brings down to their operating activities. So we're at $598 million loss. And now cash flows used in operating activities in total is now up to $811 million loss. So investing activities. We have CapEx here of $322 million. So you take 811 plus 322 million gives you a $1.13 billion loss in 3 months on making $83 million. Their negative free cash flow, so they're going to be $4.4 billion loss in 1 year and they only have $158 million in cash and $7 billion in debt. It's looking real bad. And then another thing too is capital from owners was, last year they put in their own money to keep this business afloat, I guess. And I think what they're trying to do is get this thing to IPO like this, get it to maybe, I don't know, like a maybe meme stock, something like that. I don't know, I don't know, like, because there's only 3 million shares available for us to trade. It's an EV stock, so it's got that EV hype, and it's man, I don't know. Very, very, very bad. So also another thing to note is proceeds from borrowing. So they borrowed a little over $1.3 billion there last quarter, and 1.2-ish billion, whatever that is. And man, this looks bad. This looks really, really bad. When you've only got, I don't know how you can even run a business when you have so much. You're making $83 million. So here's just another view of their financials. And this is in a quarterly, this is in US dollars here. We can see their total profits, their revenues here went from 212 million down to $84 million in 2 years. Their gross profit went from negative 121 down to 162. Their operating income went from 585 to 475, so obviously in the right direction, sort of. We keep scrolling down here. Their net income 621 to 600, negative 600 million. Balance sheet over here. So we have cash and cash equivalents basically. We have 132 million, up to 179 million. I don't know how they did that. Probably by borrowing more money. Um, Current assets, they went from 1.1 to 1.9. Total current assets here, 3.7 to 5.1. Total current liabilities went from 7.9 to 7.3. Okay. Cash flow. Net income 621 600. Cash from operations 276 to negative 816. Holy smokes. Um Cash from investing negative 16 to negative 261. CapEx, holy cow, CapEx just keeps growing. Oh man. Yeah, this is bad. So the big question here was at the beginning of the video is whether or not you should buy VinFast Auto. And if those financials don't concern you, then I don't know what does. Those are really bad. Those are probably as bad as they can get. Yeah, this is a bankruptcy company. If anything that could happen out of this company is it could meme and then it goes up to $200 even though it's a company that makes negative $1.2 billion a quarter. And just yeah, I would do what you want, but that should hopefully be enough to keep somebody away from not buying this stock. This is a mess. This could, because even if you short this, what if it does meme? It could go up to $200, so you don't want to do that. You don't want to short this. Then you're really screwed. You don't want to go long because this company's definitely not worth your money. I mean, if you got like $500 to throw away, maybe you get lucky and it does meme up to $200 and take your profits and run. That's the only way I would see of maybe doing something with this. But otherwise, I would stay far, far away from this thing. I would just put it on your block list, like that ex-girlfriend you used to have. But anyway, so that's it for this video. Um, Comment on this one. I would curious to know what other people have to say about VinFast Auto. And if you found value in this video, which there wasn't any value to be had, it was just negative value. Put a like and subscribe if you would. And then we will be back later today with my top three stock picks for this up and coming week.